Hey, do you know about the JFK assassination?
Not really. Why?
It's very important to know because it was an impactful event that happened in U.S. history. It affected not only President Kennedy's family but also America as a whole.
Sounds interesting. Do you mind explaining more about it?
No, not at all. The JFK assassination took place on November 22nd, 1963, in Dallas, Texas. The shooter was believed to be a man by the name of Lee Harvey Oswald. But before I get into too much detail, let's talk about what happened pre assassination. Now, Kennedy's actions prior to his assassination may have set the stage for his death. In order to be reelected, Kennedy was campaigning around the country and speaking to Americans, especially those who were familiar with his tactics from his first term as president. He had hopes that in his second term he could elaborate more on his plans for America and push the country forward. However, there were people who disagreed with Kennedy's operation. For his campaign for re-election, Kennedy decided to make a stop in Dallas, Texas, in order to gain support. Kennedy, Texas Governor John Connally, and both of their wives were together in an open-top convertible while riding through Dallas as a way for Kennedy to campaign for re-election. When the convertible had reached the Texas School Book Depository building, a man named Lee Harvey Oswald reportedly shot 3 bullets from the sixth floor of the building, aiming for John F. Kennedy. Shots hit both Kennedy and Connally. However, Connally survived his wounds, while Kennedy did not. The bullets struck both the president's neck and head, causing him to slump over toward Mrs. Kennedy. The two men were rushed to Parkland Memorial Hospital. A Catholic priest was summoned to administer the last rites, and at 1 o'clock p.m., John F. Kennedy was pronounced dead. Well, looks like it's time for the mystery document. I hope I don't mess it up this time. His last expression was so neat. He had his hand out. I could see a piece of his skull coming off, and I can see this perfectly clean piece detaching itself from his head. Then he slumped in my lap. His blood and brains were in my lap. I kept saying, "Jack, Jack, Jack," and someone was yelling, "He's dead, he's dead." All the ride to the hospital, I kept bending over him saying, "Jack, Jack, can you hear me? I love you, Jack." I kept holding the top of his head down, trying to keep the brains in. This person is commenting on when John F. Kennedy was shot. I'm not positive, but I believe Lindsay Henry said this in an interview. Oh, I know. It was Jackie Kennedy, John's wife. This makes so much more sense because her husband was shot right next to her and she was with him on the way to the hospital.
Correct.
Some of you are probably wondering, who was Lee Harvey Oswald and why did he kill the U.S. president that was in office at that time? Well, let's get started. Lee Harvey Oswald was born in New Orleans, Louisiana in 1939. In 1956, he joined the U.S. Marines. After being discharged from the Marines, he traveled to the Soviet Union in order to become a citizen, but he was denied. On April 10, 1963, he allegedly shot and missed former U.S. Army General Edwin Walker in Dallas, Texas. In late April of that same year, he went to New Orleans and founded a pro-Castro organization, Fair Play for Cuba Committee. In October of 1963, he started working in the Texas School Book Depository building, which later on led to November 22nd, 1963, when U.S. President JFK was killed. Now that you're informed about Lee Harvey Oswald, let's move on to what happened after JFK's assassination. About 2 hours after John F. Kennedy was pronounced dead, Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson was sworn in as the 36th President of the United States while he was on Air Force One. Almost an hour before Vice President Johnson became the new president, Oswald was arrested for not only killing the U.S. president, but for also killing Patrolman J.D. Tippit. 2 days later, while Oswald was being transferred from jail he was residing in a more secure county jail, he was killed by Jacob Rubenstein, commonly known as Jack Ruby. And 2 hours later, Lee Harvey Oswald was pronounced dead. Moving on, there have been several conspiracy theories that have been established in present day that are related to JFK's assassination, such as the belief that it was impossible for Lee Harvey Oswald to be so accurate when shooting JFK due to his incompetency and low rank in the Marines. Many argue that if Oswald had this ability to be so accurate, he would have been a much higher rank. As a result, many believe that he might have been helped by others that wanted Kennedy dead. Some also believe that Kennedy was killed by people who strongly disliked his civil rights strategies. In addition, JFK's assassination is frequently mentioned and alluded to in popular culture such as movies, books, and music videos. The fact that the assassination is so prevalent in today's pop culture only goes to show how much the assassination has shaken America.